So, but we'll get into these. We're talking about pros more or less, but we'll get into some cons. There's some serious ones on that side too. So it's not like we are the be all and end all or the answer for everything. Is definitely not true.
Wait, what?
Hey, welcome everyone. James from Twin Creek Media, and joining us today is Teresa and Kristina, and we are talking about the pros and cons of outsourcing marketing.
So James, then, now as a business owner, what do you think the advantages would be rather than trying to build a team internally? If you had to build a marketing team internally for, say, business ABC.
It's expensive and it's slow and it's risky. So versus a plug and play department, like we said before, is cheaper, faster, and less risky, right? Because it's proven. So those in a nutshell, that answers that. And that's what we see all the time. So it just makes more sense often to outsource at least part of the marketing to an agency. The question is, how does working with a team like Twin Creek provide better ROI than hiring one or two in-house marketers? So that goes to the affordability or the value you're getting with an agency. So if you add up two full-timers' salaries, and let's just say we're using an average of $70,000 a year, so we have two people at $70K. So that's $140,000 for labor before we've actually spent any money on advertising itself. And the advertising costs are often another $50,000 or $100,000 a year, right? So the ROI is even if you made $1 million in sales, you've spent perhaps $250,000. So your ROI is only 4x. So 4x isn't actually that bad, but it's not amazing. I mean, 5 would be kind of minimum of what you want to see, but our team aims for 10 times return on average. So it's because the costs are distributed across a team. You're paying people basically part-time. And you have a 10-person team who's better than the 2 people that you thought. You try to hire those unicorns, like you were saying, but they're never going to be as good as 10.
No, but even if you get those 2, let's say you are fortunate enough to get 4 strong skills, right? So you're still at a place where you're likely going to have to outsource a staffing cost, whether that be a contractor or per job basis, etc. So there's still additional costs of hiring more resources, or else forfeiting and not doing those.
Yeah, that's right. So and that's why the ROI is just better. I would say 9 out of 10 times we see a stronger ROI than a company previously had with internal people only. So, and it's all those reasons though. It's efficiency, which leads to the ROI, but it's also the know-how. It's not just that it's cost efficient, that your expenses are kind of the bang for the buck is good, but it's also the know-how of putting a 10-person team in place that is good at so many different things, and it raises the level of the company's branding and marketing and advertising and lead generation and website traffic and professionalism and events and how they're seen out there, in the world. And it's just, the whole thing is leveled up, like the game is leveled up. Mm-hmm. So the results are compounded, it's not just one thing, it's multiple things. But that's why in the end of the day, the ROI is so effective.
I think, one of the points that was interesting that you were saying is, this idea of the ROI 2-person versus 10. And honestly, just watching, when you are looking externally for marketing help and such, is you can actually go and hire a marketing department, which actually is just another 1 or 2 person sitting at their desk at home that position themselves that they have all of these skills and resources. So you kind of have to watch too, and you don't necessarily need to hire something with 50 different types of resources and skills. Is you need to understand, your business, where you're at, and what the resources that you need in terms of marketing, and then find a team that fits.
The fit is super, super important. Yeah. And that's why we work almost exclusively with mid-sized companies, like what we said. We work in little silos or on special projects or R&D or kind of innovative things for supersized companies. Like if we've had some clients that are hundreds of millions or billion-dollar companies, we're not doing the marketing.
No.
We're working with a department, a division of a department, and doing this. It's almost like that division under this department is the company we're working with, and then they become the size of organization that we're used to working with. The mid-sized companies with only 10 or 50 employees. Even though these companies, some of our clients have hundreds or thousands of employees, right? But working with a division of those. So it just needs to be the fit. The fit is super important, and we fit with a certain size, and this is really getting to know the company's capabilities. So the companies that we're working with, they usually do need a whole bunch of stuff, and that's why we have a whole bunch of people that fit, because that's what we've gone after. All right, let's talk about objectivity. How does having a third party help cut through internal bias or decision gridlock?
It's hard.
Yeah.
And I can see James thinking here.
There's one big thing that I've really noticed, though. The reason that an agency can either crash through a barrier or shortcut things is because of the lack of consequences for being super brutally honest.
Oh.
Because if we were an employee inside the company, everything's at stake. Yeah. I mean, your relationship with coworkers, ultimately your job, if you really, really laid down the law or drew a line in the sand, could you get fired over that or something? That's extreme, right? But an agency, like we're not in the company. We're not going to bump into the person while making coffee. We don't have to deal with the aftermath of a potentially offensive comment or opinion. So I think there's less fear. And because there's less fear, there is more honesty, because our role is to be a mirror. If we hold up the mirror and we reflect back, here's what we're hearing, here's what the goals are, here's what's happened in the past. Like and really there's nothing for us to lose except for losing the client, which is the equivalent of us getting fired, right? Mm-hmm. But nobody, let's say we were the team working with you, the viewer, and we said something and you're like, you guys, I don't like you guys are done. So we were fired, but we don't lose our jobs. We work for the marketing agency who has lots of clients. So the consequences are still less, even though it would be absolutely awful for us to lose a client, because that's equivalent to us getting fired. It doesn't end our careers, right? It doesn't even put us out of work. No one's worried about their actual paycheck. So, and because that fear is removed, I think there's a level of honesty that's like, okay, I gotta say this, bada bada bada. And you say your thing, and it's like, But if you were an employee sitting in the chair at that meeting, would you drop a bomb like that? Only if you're a bomb dropper, and not. Not everyone's that confrontational.
I've been in that situation. I was asked to design something very controversial, and I spoke up very quietly. It didn't go well, and I never said anything again. But in this case, I would just tell James, I don't want to do it.
No, but I would just say, all your points are very valid there, James, and I agree with them. And it's not that we, an agency will just, not care and therefore say anything.
No.
That's not what we're saying here.
Not at all.
I'm just even to say from the other side of the table, what I've seen the client's reaction, where we have unfortunately had to be brutally honest about something, about either an approach or their many things. When we have held up that mirror and we're brutally honest, but in a strong and smart way, it was actually a little bit of a relief when it was received. They're like, oh, now at least we know what the real problem is, or now we know how we can maybe change or fix something. So it wasn't that, it was that knee-jerk reaction, and a lot of times the person receiving it, they needed to hear it, and they were actually very happy to hear it.
So what types of companies or situations that outsourcing isn't a good idea?
Well, if you already do a little bit of marketing in your company, perhaps it's not time for you to completely outsource it. Like if you've slowly been building a marketing team, maybe you should continue building your marketing team instead of trying to bring on a whole new one.
I was going to say too, if you're a partnership or a sole proprietorship, and I don't want to say the mom and pop shop, you can be anybody, but you've got that kind of niche product or niche service, and you've got your clientele, and you can only do so much, meaning you can't grow or scale because what you offer is unique. Hiring a big marketing department to get a whole bunch of people through your door that you can't either sell product to or service because of capacity.
Yeah.
It just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. So too small or too early stage.
Yeah.
We see that a lot, actually. The person, they calls us or they email us and they say, I need this, this, and this. They actually need not just 5 different things, they need 100 different things. And it also requires very, very ongoing and rapid communication. So if you're going to be on the phone literally all day trying to give instructions and kind of react, because your business is just in that stage where everything's a little bit more urgent and reactionary, then a person in-house is going to be faster because they're right there with you. They're in the same room as you, perhaps. So they can also pick up the phone. They can, check your email or forward things or meet a client. Yeah, it's just that early stage of person kind of needs that boots on the ground person, where the outsourcing doesn't fulfill that role, because it's almost too much administration and coordination plus some marketing stuff. That's where we always say, hey, like we can do all these things, but you really need an internal person to manage X, Y, and Z, because trying to outsource that to a team isn't going to be fast enough, and it's not efficient enough, like cost effective enough. It's almost like the opposite of what the advantage is from before. It's like, there's definitely a reason to have people inside your company.
One of the things that I often will hear is this, from potential clients is like, you don't know my business. You don't know us. You really have to understand who we are. And that's a really valid concern. I really do appreciate that, but that's also our job, is to learn the business, learn the culture, learn that brand promise of that company. And then on top of that, our job is to know the potential audience and how to reach them. So you might, an owner or a business might really be hesitant to or fearful that an agency isn't going to actually understand the business, but we actually will understand the business as well as understand who you should be talking to.
Our company is 20 years old. We've worked for hundreds of companies, managed thousands of projects. You start to see patterns. I would say marketing is 60 to 70% the same globally across all industries and all companies, because the principles of marketing are fundamentally the same. But the 30% is custom, and that's where we dig in. And we usually have related industries that we can draw from, even if we haven't worked with a very specific type. And don't forget, you're always the expert in your company. We're working for you doing marketing, but you are the subject matter expert. You are the expert in your products and services. You always will be. So, but our job is to draw out your knowledge and your story and show the world and explain that and bring that to your customers in a way that they will respond. So we are a mediator in a sense, right?
Well, and even, another fear that kind of the other end of the spectrum is there's a fear that there actually won't be enough communication, or that that an owner or marketing manager will feel, almost removed or out of the loop. And so making sure that the agency you're going to work with has, good communication process, good project management and the direct lines of communication, making sure that those are lined up. I think our clients are really pleasantly surprised. They think that we're going to, take everything and run away and then come back. And no, like it's still there.
Yep.
We just are asking the important questions at the right time rather than the unimportant questions all the time. So you're only sourced and needed when yes, you are that key stakeholder, that resource that we need to connect with, and then we take everything else off.
Yep. So let's move on to a hybrid. The hybrid model is when people have their internal people and an agency. So the most common situation we find ourselves in is we work half the time directly with the owner or owners, and half the time we report to a marketing person. So in the case where we are working directly with the ownership, Twin Creek Media as an agency takes on the role of fractional CMO, so the Chief Marketing Officer. So that is a marketing leadership role that our team actually takes on. So there's a subset of our agency which forms like their leadership, and then we can offer the vision, the strategy, the direction, the research, the analysis, and really, really do a lot of the role that a VP of marketing would do, or a director of marketing, or a CMO in a company. And that's something we've been getting into more and more. We've probably been doing it for 5 years, and it's becoming very, very common these days. So what's another example? I mean, that's my perspective of a hybrid agency, would be like one of the biggest ones. But some of the companies we work with have a larger marketing team. So how do we fit in with those clients? What do you say?
Well, I think, of one of my clients who has kind of 3 or 4 people in the marketing / sales side. And that's that crossover as well, is the marketing and sales working together. So sometimes those are used, switched for each other. Sometimes they're very standalone. But we as an agency can go in and help the marketing department / sales department by not only, promotions, but also delivering and working with the sales team to understand what they need to do their job better. And so that's another way that we can kind of do that hybrid, is that, they're a little bit more on the street, I guess we could say. And we're a little bit more behind the scenes in making sure that they have everything that they need in order to do their job. But also we're setting that expectation to the audience of what they're going to get when they do connect with that company.
Yeah, and that's something I would say goes beyond the regular outsourcer, because an outsourcer is often thought of like a McDonald's in the business world, right? You put your order in, you drive up to the window, you get your thing, and you go back home. So, but if you had internal employees and they were marketing people, they would be right there to help out the sales department. And even if HR needed something and the finance guys needed some numbers, and your marketing people would be a resource for other people in your company. And I think the best outsourcers then understand that. Like, really, it's only dawned on us the last 5 years or so. We used to be very good at staying in our lane with marketing, but then it's like, wait a second, we're trying to replace, or not replace necessarily, but fulfill the role and help the company grow overall. Well, how can we help them overall if we're not looking at the big picture? And if we stay in our lane, especially when we're not physically in their office, there's going to be gaps. And when we started meeting with our clients, month after month and year after year, we're like, oh, there's all sorts of gaps. We need to be helping and being more helpful and volunteering ourselves to help those other departments thrive as well. Because communications, like tools, software, AI, integrations, automations, like there's a lot that a marketing team can do to support those other people so they end up having a better life. The question is, you've worked on passion projects too. How does, as in Twin Creek's worked on passion projects, how does outsourcing help companies move the needle on non-financial goals like social good, awareness, and community impact?
From my experience, and we never want it to be this way, but those community outreaches, the social good, the awareness, etc., that's the stuff that drops off first. Because when it comes down to, making a big sale, or, having your team rally and support a local cause, you lean towards the sale. And so all those things start to drop off. And they drop off to the point where you're not even noticing that they're dropping off. And then a year goes by and one of your staff members say, hey, didn't we used to do this? Or how come we haven't been doing this anymore? And so if you're focusing on what you should be focusing on, and your marketing department is focusing and making sure that, you know, all of those things are touched across the year or across your quarters or whatever it is, they're least likely to drop off and get forgotten. And it has, you know, it has such good morale. It's good for the culture of the company. You know, when you see that your team or your business is out there supporting things, being involved in the community, it doesn't have to be, you know, from a money or sponsorship, but just out and actually actively engaged with the community, you're really happy to be working for that company. It makes you more proud. It's better morale, better corporate culture. So, you know, making sure that someone is ticking those boxes and making sure that things are lined up for those types of things, that they don't drop off, I think it's really valuable.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's right. Anything to add there, Kristina?
Yeah, well, I hate to say it, but as much as we love doing community events because we love community events, it does make a good opportunity to get some content. Wear your swag. Be there. Be existing in your community. Mm-hmm. And make sure they know who you are. And yes, we do it for good reasons, but we're a marketing company. We always have that.
Yeah,
on our mind.
That's kind of another advantage of being outside your company. We're not embarrassed to toot horns because it's not our horn we're tooting your horn. So, because you know what I mean, though.
Yeah.
Oh, I know.
They have a problem with, you know, how humble they are when it's yourself. But when it's somebody else, you're like, let's promote them and, you know, drive the message home. So we always find that when we start working with companies, the average company we discover is doing really, really cool things. Nobody knows about it. Nobody knows. Nobody, like, other than the owners, the employees, and their own, like, family.
Yeah, they might mention it somewhere on their website, but you should be getting
barely.
social posts and like sending out a newsletter, you know, sometimes.
Half the time, even other employees don't know what's happening.
Yep.
No, it's tragic. So really, there's no reason to be hiding under a rock like that, unless you want to make an anonymous donation or something that's different. But if it's just a regular community involvement and you support this event, you sponsor that thing and whatever, share it.
Yeah.
You know, that it goes a long way, as you said, for morale, but also for other businesses to see that, hey, you are involved and you do care about the community that you're operating in. You know, there's so many different reasons, but it's also, humans are humans. We want human stories. You're not just a machine. So it needs to be more relatable. The question is, what's the one question every business owner should ask before hiring a marketing partner, outsourced or not?
So I think this goes even past this whole hiring a marketing partner, outsourced or not. The one question is you both ask each other is, how do we know we're successful? Because making sure that success is the same is going to make sure that you have the right fit. So how are we going to know that this is successful? And it can mean different things to different people. It could be money. It could be communication. It could be longevity. So how are we going to know that this is successful?
Yeah.
And if a marketing agency comes back and says, you know, because you never hear from us for 12 months because we do all the work, and yet you want to be involved and still, you know, a little bit hands-on and want to be involved because this is your business that you built, that's not the right fit. So that's what I would ask. How do we know? I would make sure there's some alignment.
Yeah, I think that you have to know the shape of your own puzzle piece before you can find the puzzle piece that fits yours.
Marriage counselor, Kristina.
Yeah.
So, yeah, what's your love language? I don't know. What's the one question? So I have way too many. It's hard to boil it down to one question.
I also believe in the 5 whys, right? And I was talking to you about this the other day. So what's one question you should ask before hiring a marketing partner? Why do I want to hire a marketing partner? And answer that, and then ask yourself why again. So let's do this, James. Why are you hiring a marketing partner?
I think I need one I need a new website.
Why?
That's what everyone's doing. I don't know. This is actually a really common question because I was like, why do you need a website? I don't know. It's like, I
but
just,
asking that why, and getting down to the actual reason will help you know if you're making the right decision.
Yeah. Sometimes you have a preconceived idea of what needs to be fixed, and the thing that you think needs fixing is totally fine. It's something else. So when we've done this why question, that's not one question though. It's 5 whys.
5 whys.
But it's one principle, one guideline. And they say, I need a new, and then they fill in the blank. What they want is 10 new sales that equal up to, $500,000. It's like, and they think the new fill in the blank will get them that. But that's where we, start questioning, get to the root of the issue. Oh, you want actually more sales. And then, well, your website's great. What you don't have is any people on your website. Yeah. It's not doing anything because it has no website visitors. So traffic, what we call traffic in the marketing world, is your problem, not your website. Mm-hmm. So for an example, right? So it could be, but they just assume that something's broken in the funnel. Anyway, we're way off track with the one question.
The question is why to the power of 5.
I like why to the power of 5. Oh, I like that one. That's a good answer. That's my answer. My answer, my one question, I like to, if you borrow good ideas from smart people, are you really stealing? Or
you just called me smart.
The power of 5 was also, anyway, yeah. All right.
So if someone's listened to all of this and I pulled out the big points and such and thinks that they're, maybe ready, what do they do? What do they do, James?
You start the conversation. Let's
talk about why.
Yeah. The 5-second rule. Have you guys heard of that? Mel Robbins wrote a book.
Isn't this food on the floor?
But no, it's not food related because that's part of the 5-second rule. But the 5-second rule in human psychology is you have a huge amount of power during a 5-second window when a thought occurs to you to act on it. And then after the 5 seconds, it's like a spark that burns out and then goes cold, something like that. I haven't actually read the book yet. My wife's listening to the audiobook. But the 5-second rule, I would say, is your next step. So if you have thought in the last 25 seconds to 5 to 25 seconds, if you thought about, I think this makes sense, I should do it. Do it. Reach out to us, take action. There's nothing to lose. We don't have a fee for consultations, initial consultations or anything. Let's just have a discussion. Let's see what we can do to help each other and help you grow your business or organization.
Maybe we're your unicorn.